All right, well, hello everyone and happy Wednesday. It's digital host A.J. Wuest welcoming you back to Before the Four. Of course, the live stream where I go through some of 48's top news stories and then some before our 4 o'clock newscast. I say it every day wherever you're watching Before the Four this fine Wednesday afternoon, whether it's on Facebook, YouTube, or the 48 Now live stream. As always, thank you so much for watching and spending just a bit of your afternoon here. Now, we have a lot to jump into today, so I say without further ado, we go ahead and start things off. And let's begin in DeKalb County, where earlier today we learned that a school employee with DeKalb County Schools was arrested on child porn charges in Georgia. According to a statement released by the school system, Michael Lance Brown, that's who you're seeing on screen, was taken into custody in Chattooga County, Georgia, on charges related to the manufacturing and distribution of child porn, as well as video recording individuals without their consent. DeKalb County School officials do say the charges are not connected to any of its students, and it did not happen on their campuses. Brown worked as a computer technician. Officials say he was hired in 2022, had his background check completed, and had no issues in that report. They say that during his employment, there were no reports of misconduct. Brown has been removed from all duties and is currently on administrative leave pending the outcome of the investigation. And 48 Savannah Sapp will have more on this situation coming up in our evening newscast. But now, let's talk about the weather. It is staying hot out there as we dive further into the summer. Now in July, hard to believe, I know, that is for sure. 48 First Alert Chief Meteorologist Brad Travis gives us a look at the forecast. Brad?
Well, let's go through the afternoon. It's hot out there already. There's no rain and no rain in sight, really. Can't rule out a rogue shower, thunder shower later in the week, but overall, nothing to be too concerned with right now. Current temperatures, as I mentioned, it's hot. 92 Huntsville and in the Shoals. It's 88. It's hot everywhere, but the humidity is low, but make sure you're taking those heat precautions. And here's a few folks that are taking those heat precautions out there enjoying the splash pad out in the Shoals right now. Again, 92, not much of a heat index, but that will change. Radar won't change much at all. In fact, what you're seeing there on the animation, probably insects in the air. Yes, the radar is so sensitive, it picks up bugs. And that's about the only thing we'll be picking up the next few days. Grilling forecast, hot and dry. Looking at 83 at 8 o'clock. And you will notice a cool down out there. Should be comfortable this evening and then again tomorrow morning. Here's your 3-day forecast. 93 degrees Thursday, 95 Friday and Saturday. Morning lows creep back into the low 70s. That's the sign the tropical moisture is coming back. And here's an update on the 4th of July forecast. After what's happened out there today, I've adjusted temperatures up again. 95, mostly sunny for the 4th of July. And for the fireworks displays during the evening, looks like 79, mostly dry weather coming up at 4, 5, and 6. We'll talk about that 10-day forecast and see if we've got another weather pattern change on the way.
And you all know the drill. 48 First Alert Weather Extra. That is tonight at 9:30. First Alert Chief Meteorologist Brad Travis. He'll be back here in the CTV Center. And I'll have all the latest that he's seeing on the radar. Again, that is at 9:30 wherever you're watching Before the Four right now. But now, yesterday, we learned that a Huntsville Public Works employee was killed and 2 others were injured in a wreck on Highway 231. The Marshall County coroner confirmed the death. Hank Hornbuckle of New Hope was identified as the person killed in the crash. Hornbuckle served as a Huntsville Public Works employee and was a candidate for the New Hope City Council. We learned that City Councilman Donnie Dowdy was also injured in the crash, as well as Huntsville Public Works Director Chris McNeese. We spoke with New Hope resident Brian Carpenter, who knew Hornbuckle, as well as Pastor Shane Baker. Take a listen.
I knew it instantly, would do anything for the guy. He's the type of guy that would do anything for you. And it's just, this whole community is going to be devastated.
Donnie is like the life of the party. Great guy, do anything for you. It was just kind of a shock. And we have 2 wonderful New Hopians. You know, pray for them as they process what they're going through.
Certainly a very sad situation, and tonight we'll be following up on this situation coming up in our evening newscast, so make sure to stay tuned for more details. But now yesterday marked the first day paid parental leave will be available for state educators. 48's Nick Ballinger gives us a story on a couple who will be some of the first to utilize the new law. Nick Ballinger reports.
Athens City school teachers David and Allie Ezel say education is a calling.
You spend more time with those kids in your classroom than you do your own family, and more time than they spend with their own parents. And so you become a very integral part in their upbringing.
And any day now, this family of 4 will grow.
We finally got the chair in here last night.
Being a family with 2 educators in Alabama before 2025 posed a unique set of circumstances.
Now, before this new law, there were only a few options that teachers in Alabama could choose from to take time off after having a child, and none of them are all that great.
This is how it worked, and this is just how it's always been. It's always been difficult as a mom because there's that maternal instinct to want to nurture and raise our own children.
Alabama was one of just 10 states without paid parental leave for state employees and teachers. But with the stroke of Governor Kay Ivey's pen, that changed July 1st. The couple had already done this twice before, using all their sick days and borrowing donated days from their coworkers.
They are 2 years and 4 days apart, and so that's not a whole lot of time to accrue many more days. And so we knew that wasn't going to be enough.
That if something really bad were to happen, we could be put in a situation where we'd be forced to take unpaid sick leave.
With the July due date, the pair will become some of the first in state history to utilize the new policy.
Families are prioritized, but that high quality teachers get hired because they see the benefits that the state of Alabama can provide them.
This sort of a weight lifted off.
Yes.
Oh my God. We were both elated to have the flexibility to be able to stay home, to recover.
Lifting a weight from the Ezels and many other parents and giving Murphy Faye 8 weeks with mom and 2 with dad. Nick Ballinger, 48 News, on your side.
And now coming up after the break, we'll talk about nearly 30 dogs being seized from a home in Lauderdale County and more details regarding the Morgan County jailer arrested for promoting contraband. It's all ahead. I'll see you all in 1 minute. All right, well, hello everyone and welcome back to Before the Four. Now moving out to the Shoals, where yesterday we learned that nearly 30 dogs were seized from a home on County Road 6. It's now confirmed that the dogs were seized from the same home where over 80 dogs were taken by authorities back in January. 48's Aria Pons with more.
This will now make over 100 dogs that have been seized from Teresa Counts' property in just 6 months. 29 dogs were seized Tuesday morning and taken to the shelter. I'm told that those dogs were in the exact same conditions as the ones that were rounded up in January.
Exactly as it was when we were previously out there.
Director of Florence Lauderdale Animal Services Cheryl Jones says these dogs were found covered in feces with no food or water. Some were stacked on top of each other, though not as many as last time, and male dogs were in kennels with females.
Several appear to be pregnant. One had just, newborn, and then one mom that had 3 about 5 to 6 week old puppies.
Deputies say Counts wasn't home when they raided her property on Tuesday. Right now, it's unclear if she is facing any charges. After the first raid in January, she was charged with 82 counts of animal cruelty. She agreed to give up those dozens of dogs in exchange for having the charges dropped. They're all now in new homes. Jones says while those dogs have been rehomed, taking in 29 more is no easy task. The shelter is already full with 142 other dogs in its kennels. The staff closed the shelter on Tuesday to give them the attention they deserve.
You know, it is hard because these guys will require, this care is more obviously than the dogs that we have here. And because of how they're used to living, you know, they're not house trained, they're not used to going out. So it's a lot of repeated cleaning up to have to do.
Jones says the dogs will be evaluated by a veterinarian soon. As we continue to learn more, we will keep you updated. Reporting in Lauderdale County, Aria Pons, 48 on your side.
And now in Morgan County, a Morgan County jailer was recently arrested on charges of promoting prison contraband. 48's Faith Delp reports.
Morgan County Sheriff's Public Information Officer Mike Swafford told me Kimberly Woodruff worked here at the jail for over 6 years before she was caught with contraband, charged, and then fired.
It's unfortunate, especially when it involves somebody, a member of the team that we've placed trust in. But we've been through this over the years. This isn't the first. Unfortunately, it probably won't be the last. But we look into this and take it serious every day.
Swafford says Woodruff was in charge of the kitchen at the Morgan County Jail. He says corrections officers have to go through security every day. But sometimes bad eggs find ways to sneak things in. In a lot of cases, he says they get tips but don't find evidence, which is needed. In this case, they did find evidence. He adds this isn't just an issue in Morgan County. He says contraband is smuggled into jails all over the country all the time.
Every jail in the country fights contraband. It's something we do every day. It's ongoing. And unfortunately, sometimes it leads to corrections officers, which it did today. The agents go where the evidence leads, and then we take actions depending on what the evidence shows. And so today it led to an arrest.
Swafford could not say what Woodruff brought into the jail since this is still an ongoing investigation, but he did say this could lead to more arrests. Reporting in Decatur, Faith Delp, 48 News on your side.
And today we learn more details about this situation. Court records show Woodruff is accused of using jail trustees to pass notes and a vape to her brother, who was an inmate in the jail. She's facing a misdemeanor charge and is currently free on that $300 bond. But now let's head into the stories you're just not going to want to miss coming up in our evening newscasts. A man in DeKalb County was arrested and charged with assault for beating a woman with a vegetable can. We'll have more details coming up on that situation. The verdict for Sean Diddy Combs, we'll have those details. And finally, repairs coming to the farmers market in Huntsville. And these are just a few of the stories you're just not going to want to miss coming up in our evening newscast. And now it is that time. It is 3:52. That means it is time for Facebook fun and our 48 Facebook question of the day. What is something that the younger generations will never experience? That was our 48 Facebook question today. And let's see what you all have to say. I think some of you might consider me a younger generation. I am Generation Z, born in the year 2000. So let's see what you all had to say. What is something I will never experience, or maybe even the generation past mine, which would be Generation Alpha? What is something we will never experience? Let's see. Gas for 29 cents. Now that is something I would love to see. Peter said delivering newspapers. Yes, that's very sad. I am actually a huge fan of those vintage newspapers. I love newspapers. I have a whole collection at home of Tennesseans, Atlanta Journal-Constitutions, standing in line to get tickets to a concert. Now that is something we just go on Ticketmaster now or SeatGeek, whatever you use to buy tickets, and just get it that way. Aaron said drinking from a water hose. Now that is something I have actually done, so he must be talking to Generation Alpha, because on a hot summer day, there is nothing like that hose water. It just hits different. Michael said Pizza Hut personal pan pizza. I would love to see that. April said calling your mom from a phone booth collect instead of saying your name and the tone. You tell her everything you needed to know. Not seeing a lot of phone booths these days anymore. Daniel said a stable housing market. That is a good point there. Tiffany said the joy of no social media. That is very true. It just seemed like life was so much easier back in those days, back before social media and the internet. Sometimes I think people in my generation and Generation Alpha should absolutely detox from the social media for a little while, go on breaks. It is only to benefit your mental health in the long run, 100%, because if you are staying chronically online, that's not good. You do not need to be online all the time. It's good to go outside, touch some grass. Here's one. Mike said Blockbuster on a Friday night, and that was something I experienced up until maybe 5 or 6 before my hometown Blockbuster closed. Yep, on Friday nights, me and the folks, we would go to Blockbuster, rent a movie. Some good times. Well, you all had some super awesome comments for today's Facebook question of the day. Thank you all for commenting. It always makes my day seeing y'all's comments and interacting with you all watching at home. But y'all, it is about time to wrap this show up. It is 3:56. That is about all the time for today's Before the Four. But I want to thank you all for sticking around and spending a bit of your Wednesday afternoon here. I hope you all enjoy tonight's evening newscast. And as always, thank you so much for watching. You all have a great night.